Year?
Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. Let's fucking go. You watching Contact.
Year?
You can thank the master. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. 24/7 researching, it's all a fantasy. But if I make the right plays, it pays automatically. Bankroll showing that I know it goes strategy. On a winning streak, I'm stacking a dose of the bookies, all get mad at me. Confident with power plays, not clicking on a flex today. 10 times the money, and we all about to get paid. Eric and Josh on the stream, they be killing it. Never gonna stop it, I like if you feeling it. Digging the players, they all never time. You can't make up your mind and just go with your gut. Fantasizing Sasha Cloud, Gabby Williams said watch your mouth. They 1 and they 2, I played the over, they come through. Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum, pick them both, we stacking them. Going big to the maximum, just push them in, we cashing them. Let's fucking go, we about to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. Let's fucking go. You watching Contact.
Year?
You can thank the master. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. We about to go big.
This is the game.
You watching Contact.
Let's get hunting.
You can thank the master. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks. About to go big. Kill him with the PrizePicks.
All right, we are live. What is up, crew? Wednesday, July 6th. Now, we had a 3-game slate today, but the first one started earlier at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it was Chicago at Minnesota, and that game definitely was of interest, and it really panned out great for the crew. Saw a lot of green screenshots. Love to see it. This is our target list from this morning prior to tip-off, and you can see a lot of our top targets hit. Vandersloot fell short at 5 assists. Otherwise, it would have been a perfect target hit for us. But, yeah, a lot of green. Glad to see everyone hit. How did it go for you, Eric?
Yeah, this morning was pretty good. Actually, just ran fairly light, but 2 out of my 3 cards that I squeaked in last minute hit 10x. So it's a pretty good start to the day. Hoping to keep it going.
Yeah, I really wish this game was on the main slate because we would have had a lot of options to work from this game with the other 2, but we'll try to do our best with the other 2 games. They're not as appealing as this one, but hopefully we can find some prop gems. Yeah, so let's head on over to the research station here. And before we get started, any key news that we should go over for both games, I guess?
Yeah, Rebecca Allen's going to be out again tonight. I think we kind of expected that, but it looks like that's going to be about it for right now. Coffee, I think, might be questionable, so we could be waiting on that.
Right.
But those 2, I believe, are it.
Yeah, and then we got Donnie back off of her rest. She's on that rest on-off schedule. So she's back in the mix today. And I think so these 2 teams have played. So the first game, just go ahead and get into it and let people trickle in and we'll catch up with chat. This matchup is Washington at Atlanta. These 2 teams have played 3 times already this season. A lot of data to go up of. And I believe Donnie played in 2 of the 3 games. So we have some data quite a bit of data with her in this matchup. Yeah, she played 2 of the 3, and she played in the most recent matchup too. So we have that data to go on. And Washington's a 5-point spread. I imagine its spread would be much larger if this was in Washington because we know how bad Atlanta is on the road. But Atlanta's starting to get more healthy with Tiffany Hayes back and Erica Wheeler starting to play more minutes. She was out for extended time. So really they're only down Nia Coffey if she's out again. So they're starting to get back to full strength. Maybe they play a little bit better at home too, which we know they can. So hopefully this game can stay close, but you can see the implied total is not healthy. It's at 156.5, very low. So that's always a concern if you're targeting points or any other point-related props like PRA or fantasy. So we'll have to sift through that. And also, for good reason, both these teams are top 3 in defensive rating. Washington is second, and Atlanta is third. Atlanta definitely plays better defense at home too. And they're kind of polar opposites. Washington is last in pace, and Atlanta is second in pace. Atlanta still likes to push the envelope with right there with Vegas. Vegas being first in pace. And then other key stats: Atlanta's first in turnover percentage, and they also fouled a very high rate. They're first in opponent free throws allowed. So there's some holes to target here and things to highlight. I guess we can just go ahead and start with Washington, the away team. Like I said, Donnie is back. And I think the first thing that stood out to me, and I already wrote it down, was Natasha Cloud's 2.5 turnovers. I think she cleared this in almost every matchup this season. I think 2 of the 3. And we know she has a high propensity to turn it over just because she's the playmaker, and that just comes with the nature of the beast with playmaking. Yeah, so she had 3 turnovers in 2 of the 3 games, and then she hooked at 2 in one of them. Atlanta's very scrappy defense, and they can cause turnovers with Ryan and Wheeler. So that was the first thing that stuck out to me. Curious to see what you think. And then I think Atkins is going to be an important subject today. A lot of people talking about her. A lot of people are on some of her 3-point shooting and possibly her points because she's on a heater. And one thing that stood out to me was her 1.5 block steal, since Atlanta does turn the ball over at such a high rate, being first in turnover percentage. And then I saw the crew was recently talking about Shakira's fantasy. So I'm curious to see what you think, and if there's any other props that stood out to you for Washington.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Cloud's turnovers. If you just take a look at her, home road splits here for the season, she's really just been right around that 3 marker, honestly. But her away splits, she's at 3.1, and she's one of the league leaders in assists, and with high assists usually come high turnovers. So I'm definitely there with you. Atlanta is very, very scrappy on the defense, and honestly, I'm finding myself finding a few more, I think, hidden gems in this matchup than kind of first look here. There's a lot of really appealing low stock props. I know you mentioned for Atkins there. I think that's very much so in play for us. Um, I'm hoping we're not going to get an Atkins flop here, because she kind of seems to do this where she'll turn up and have a real good heater and then just completely go cold. Hopefully that's not going to be tonight. We've had reasonable games. 2 out of the 3 of them were competitive. One of them I think was a 20-point blowout. But giving Atlanta the benefit with being at home here, hopefully we'll get 3.5, full 4 quarters of competitive play. But for the most of the characters, I think 100% behind Cloud, her turnovers here, and Atkins. I think today personally, I'm leaning a little bit more for her first half. I'm not sure PRA or fantasy, one of the two, but she's really been cruising in the first half, and most of that's coming in her real points, but she's been picking up in the stocks and the assists lately too. So I like a lot of Atkins' assists today, or a lot of her props today. Don't want to go too overboard with her personally, but man, she's just looked really good and smashing lately. And last hit on Shakira, I think she's been consistent. We've seen almost identical games in the competitive games out of her. She had about 9 points, 7 rebounds, picked up a few stocks here and there, but if you think she's going to get her normal allotment, then I think her first half or her PRA full game props are very much so in play. And if you wanted to target some of the fantasy, I know behind the scenes we had talked about some of her stock upside. I don't know if I believe the stocks are going to be there today, but the rebounding and potential for putbacks should definitely be there for her today.
Okay, so I'll put 1A, 1B for her fantasy and PRA. Um, yeah, I guess it is appealing if you do look at the game log history against Atlanta. She's having like 2 to 4 stocks per game, but it's very variable with stocks, as we know. Whereas PRA is the more consistent stat line, so I get it. Um, and then another one I think with for her that we talked about was her 1.5 turnovers. Along the same lines of with Cloud's turnovers, just Atlanta being scrappy on defense and creating turnovers. Do you still like that?
Yeah, I do honestly. I'm just trying not to get myself too overexposed on Washington today because they've slapped the hand in the cookie jar so bad on the road this year. Like anytime we've been really high on them, they for some reason have let us down. I think they should do well today, but back of my mind, I think for this particular slate, I don't want to go too many double Washington players on my card, especially if you're
Mm-hmm.
running a 4 card power. I wouldn't. Well, I mean, I guess you need help for in that case, anyways. But if you're going for a flex tonight, I probably would just run one Washington player just to give yourself, a hedge for that.
I agree. Yeah, nothing feel too confident on Washington besides the ones that we talked about. So I just think limited exposure in this game overall is probably the way to go. Is come away with a couple pieces. So with that said, we can move on to Atlanta. I think some discussion has surrounded Wheeler's assist prop being pretty low at 3.5. Not the best in game environment, but Atlanta is at home, so opportunity to play a little bit better and more shots to go in, and just the pace they're going to run. So I can get that, and Ryan's assist too, because Washington has really found a way to just shut her down and trap her. So would look to pass more. If Washington continues that defensive scheme against her, I believe in the 2 games that Donnie played, Ryan had 0 points and 5 points. But that was a real outlier game, and she shot 2 of 14. Definitely room for improvement there. But yeah, she had 3 assists in that one and 2 assists in the one that she scored 0. So it's kind of all over the place. I mean, definitely potential for I feel like her or Erica to clear their assist props, but I just don't like the game environment. But since Atlanta's at home, I could see it. And the other one that stood out to me was Shannon Parker's 1.5 turnovers. Um, Pretty much in every matchup, she's cleared this except one, and had multiple, like 3 or 4 turnovers in some like matchups. And she's just been turning it over a lot lately. Um, I just like turnovers in this game style of game with 2 good defenses. I feel like it's going to be a scrappy defensive battle. So I like that low line for her. And then curious to see your thoughts on Tiffany Hayes. Kind of stood out to me as like a potential bounce back game for her. She had a bad game against Seattle. She was in foul trouble, lost out on minutes, but she definitely has potential to score. It's just not obviously the most ideal matchup. So curious to hear your thoughts on those, and then any others you have for Atlanta.
Yeah, I think honestly, Hayes, man, I think for her, she's in a prime spot. And last game, she started off really, really well. And, those fouls, something about that just changed. And when she went to the bench, she was just a ghost coming back after that. I think she picked up another quick foul as soon as she checked in and then ended up playing a very short stint from that. She's, very talented player. And for me, I know there is some kind of pause for the assist, and mostly that's just because who else is shooting the ball? It's basically just been Ryan and virtually nobody else on the team. So 100% one of those 2 key players between Wheeler and Howard tonight are going to hit their assist prop. I'm a little bit more skeptical on Howard, just on the side of who is the other player going to be? Wheeler can go out there and shoot 0 points in the first half and then come back out and make a couple in the second half. And sometimes these games are just getting away because Atlanta is not being competitive in the first half. And that's really what's crushing this team because they have a reasonable second half performance, particularly third quarter, almost every game. And the game's just so far out of hand at that point that you see flat minutes from the starters and all these bench pieces are, playing these real flat rotations. We got low to mid 20s pretty much across the board in the last situation that we were in like this where the game got out of hand. I think that Hayes is definitely a very potential player. They have her props juiced a little bit from kind of a recent performance, but I wouldn't mind going back there today. I think real points is going to be the way to go, especially with the Washington being a little bit softer on the 3 point. Hopefully tonight she can take a few more minutes or a few more open looks and get a few more minutes staying out of foul trouble.
Yeah, I think with her it's all about minutes, right? Because if she plays, 25 to 28 minutes, I would feel very confident in the 12 and a half. But we've seen recently, in limited game sample with her since she's just coming back, she can play 20 minutes if she gets in foul trouble. So, and if it's a blowout. Yeah, I think she's the wild card in this matchup because she did not play in any of those three previous games. So she's gonna have to be the wild card and step in and I feel like carry the load scoring wise. So
For sure. And was going to hit on real fast. I do love that call for Parker, 1.5 turnovers. Honestly, this is just, I think, an error in prize picks here. If you go back and look in the last couple of weeks, they've really shied away from giving us these 1.5, especially turnover props.
mhm.
Usually it's been stocks, but they've been kind of going back and forth. I think honestly, total mishap in their favor. Any on-ball guard or any heavy involvement with the offense, if their props are going to be at 1.5, like Austin, Young there, and Parker, all three of those are very much live in play today. And you could run a card with that all in the same mix, but for just being a pace up spot, honestly, for 2 out of the 3 of those, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's probably my favorite on Atlanta's side, and then I would say mid tier for all the other ones we talked about. If you really needed more props, I guess you could pair Wheeler or Ryan's assist with Hayes points, but that makes me nervous with the implied total at 156. But you never know with Atlanta being at home. Anything's possible. They could go way over that.
For sure.
And
And,
then would
or go
you,
ahead.
since it is at home, would you be nervous to take any Ryan's under props like her points or her 5 rebound?
No, mostly because I I think I'm going to build most of my cards for Atlanta game scripted for Wheeler to be the assist and kicking it back out to Howard. She's going to have to score the ball, otherwise this game is just going to be completely lopsided. And I want to give her the benefit of being able to draw up something, or her and the coaches be like, hey, if you're getting double covered, we need to draw up something to get you involved in the offense, because if she's scoring less than 10 points a game, they are not winning.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Before we move on, there's one thing I want to check since Atlanta fouls so much. Did they give us any more Washington free throw props? I think they only
Yeah, they
had.
had Donnie was up there actually. I was gonna bring that up.
Okay, yeah, she wasn't on there earlier, I feel like. Or no, that was the only one they gave us from Washington, right? Yeah. I think that's definitely live. What do you think?
For sure. With, as you said, Atlanta is pretty high in the foul. In particular, Parker, the specific character that she's going to be seeing a lot of. She's been getting into a ton of foul trouble lately, which, all that could really wrap into a good correlation if we have Parker turnovers for her offensive, upside turnover, and then drawing fouls there against Donnie. letting her go to the line. So that's, I mean, pretty good line or way to start a card up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Okay, I guess we can travel on to the next game before we do and catch up with chat.
Yeah, last thing I know, Cade wanted to hit on just his kind of even prop line. The Atlanta field goals made in 2 minutes, or field goals made in 6 minutes.
Was it 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5. Giving him the disrespect again.
And then I think you liked Erica's assists more than Ryan's assists, so you do that. All right, let's catch up with chat. Mike in the house, and first as always, love it, Mike. What's up, Mike? Said
What's up, man?
Brody said, "How we doing?" What's up, Brody? Glad you're here. Corey said, "Gotta get in early for the soundtrack." Yeah, man, it's a banger. Sheriff said, "Let's go." Appreciate y'all. Hey, appreciate you, man. Oh, our boy Underrated, who made the intro song. Let's go, guys. Nice work this morning. Hey, appreciate that. It was true team effort. Get Money Hustle said, "We back for another one." I hope so, man. And our boy Jatoa said, "Sup, fam? Let's keep the green flowing today. Let's do it. Let's get our money back from them." Skimmer said, "Europe, thanks, fellas." Hey, man, appreciate you. Vince, part of the crew, said, "Don't think the usage is the problem for Parker, just the recent minutes." Yeah, so is the minutes problem lately foul trouble?
Mostly,
or is it just rotation, weird rotation?
Mostly from foul trouble. She's been getting in some early half foul trouble, or staying consistent at 2 to 3.
Yeah, last 2 games she had 2 fouls in each game, played 28 minutes, so we're hoping for the same outcome here. 2 fouls, 1 or 2 fouls in 28 minutes. And Vince said, "Love her turnovers, though." Yeah, it's so low. Okay, yes, making good headway here, so we can take our time with this last one, because I feel like, although it's a large spread, I feel like there's quite a bit of props we can target here with a little more confidence, maybe. Although we did create a pretty long list for the Washington Atlanta game, more so than I thought we were going to walk away with. But yeah, so the late night hammer starting at 10 p.m. Eastern is New York at Vegas. It's 169.5 point total, so way more healthier applied total. But Vegas is 10-point favorites for good reason. Vegas, currently, they just opened up a new Vegas odds for the WNBA finals winners, and Vegas is by far clear number 1 favorites to win it all this year. And makes sense. They have 4 All-Stars, and they have Asia Wilson, who is currently the lead runner for MVP. She has the highest odds. I think Kelsey Plum is 3rd behind her in MVP voting or MVP odds. So they're stacked, totally stacked, and they play just really fluid, solid basketball, especially on offense. So it's scary for New York. First time they're facing Vegas this year. And if you look at past history, New York, when they travel to Vegas, they are 0-8 against the spread when they play there. So Vegas is aware of this, and I think that's why they made the spread so high at 10 points. And I just think the way the style that New York plays kind of favors in Vegas's hands, where New York doesn't really score in the paint. All their points really come from the perimeter, especially the 3-point line. And Vegas is really good at switching and coming off of screens and covering the perimeter. Although they do give up the 3rd most threes, I still just think overall their perimeter defense sets up really nice against New York. And New York's going to have a real hard time to get that mid-range game and inside scoring going. So it's going to be a tough battle for them. But yeah, I think we can still maybe find some key props on New York's side. Just going over the key stats, team stats for both teams. New York is bottom in rebounding, and they turn it over at the second highest rate. So players like Natasha and Sabrina love to turn it over, which is why both their turnover props are at 3. And Vegas runs the fastest pace, while New York runs the second slowest. So again, you have two opposites in pace. So definitely a pace up spot for New York here, which could mean even more 3-point attempts for them, since they are first in 3-point attempts. They take the most threes in the league. And like I mentioned, Vegas, they do give up the third most threes. So makes sense if you want to target some 3-point props here. I think we only have 2. I think we have Marine at 3 threes made and Sabrina at 2.5. But yeah, that's pretty much the key stats I want to go over. Vegas doesn't really foul that much. New York is almost in the top 3 for free throws allowed. So let's go ahead and start with New York. First thing that stood out to me, I think it would be Sabrina's threes, like I mentioned, due to that game script. I think they're going to be forced to shoot the 3 ball because they won't be able to score inside, like I said. And they will probably be trailing for majority of the game. So Sabrina, they're just going to have to try to get it done by the 3 ball to catch up. I always like Marine for her scoring and 3-point shooting, but the 3 is just so high in my opinion. But I get it. Another thing before I hand it over to you that stood out to me, with that game script theory that they're going to be taking a lot of threes and Vegas giving up threes, I think you could look into the team starters 1 3-point made in the first 6 minutes. I think it has a high potential to at least push. But I think with Natasha, Marine, and Sabrina out there chucking threes early on, I think it has a good chance to clear. But it's risky because, yeah, they obviously have to take the threes and then they have to be hitting them too. And yeah, in 6 minutes. But game script wise, it's kind of lining up for that. And then I'm really curious to see what you think about Natasha Howard, because all the models project her to do really well today, especially in scoring and rebounding. So you know how I feel about her. It's been someone I've been staying away from and fading. Would you go to her and any other props that you like?
You can definitely go there. With what confidence level, I can't really tell you. She is definitely being set up for a pretty good game here. I would say mostly just from on New York side of things, this massive pace up that they're getting here is going to be something to really hopefully take advantage of. But as you said, this matchup, if history is going to teach us anything, this has been a very lopsided. They haven't even beat Vegas at all, have they?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they were 0-8 in their meetings, which is to
Mm-hmm.
be expected, especially from how insane Vegas and stacked this team is. But some of the things that I definitely agree with you, we could take a shot on the team 3-point made. A lot of that's going to really hinge on Johannes, if she's going to be passing the ball or is she going to be shooting the ball, because she came out firing this last game and it was a pretty stellar performance. They hung in there for a while, but Vegas back at home is a whole new monster. They play lights out, and as you said, New York's going to live and die with this 3 ball. So if they're not making them, or if the team's not feeling themselves tonight, this game's going to get out of hand real fast.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I think you got to play a little devil's advocate here when building your team cards. If you're going for first half and unders because the game's going to get out of control, then I think for Howard especially, we could look at her first half props. If this is something that's going to be beneficial to her, but maybe not in a full run here, her either PRA or I think her fantasies probably got to be the way to go, just because she has so much stock upside. And it's been right there on the line for her. A lot of that's just been foul trouble and a lack of shooting or time on the floor.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, foul trouble is the only concern with her. And in turnovers too. Yeah, could run into a situation where she has like 2 turnovers in the first half and just falls short or something like that. But I feel like out of anyone on New York, probably I have the most confidence in her being productive today. Um, so yeah, I think another one that me and you both talked about earlier would be Johannes's turnovers. She's been turning the ball
Definitely.
over a very high rate when she tries to play make. Um, yeah, I wish it was at 2, but at least get a push. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, one of my favorite plays out of New York today. We've seen that really all of their offense, their focal point has come out of either Sabrina or Marine here. And almost the entirety of their assists are coming from those two direct players. And, the ball being in their hand, we like that for the turnover upside. And with her being such a kind of an inexperienced player here, too, still knocking some of that rust off. We could see that really come into play tonight with her having such a huge responsibility because she's going to be covering either one of Young or Plum, and neither of those is going to be a fun matchup for you tonight. So a lot of this back and pace or back and forth pace, I think some of that we're going to see her slipping, and she got caught a few times just trying to chuck that long ball on some fast breakaway, and it would be a very underthrown pass. And there's a lot of tall defenders on Vegas side of things here. So if she's not careful, she might end up like the last two games. And I think she had two early turnovers before half. And, fingers crossed that sucks for the player, but hopefully for us as a prop line, that's going to be an easy one.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but especially since Natasha and Sabrina, their turnover props are at 3. Um, Much higher chance of those pushing as opposed to Marine, because yeah, there's going to be a lot of turnovers that go around in this matchup with how solid a defense Vegas is and how much New York turns it over as a collective unit. So I'm with you on that. So probably we'll rank that 1 for New York, and then maybe the team starters 3 as second, and then I had Natasha's points as third. And then Sabrina, I don't really. All her props are really juiced.
The
Obviously,
three
she's going to
point.
try to carry the load, but I think the low 2.5 3 would be the way to go for her. What do you think?
Yeah, and she could just fall into that. We've seen her take almost 40-foot three-pointers. So if she's going to go way out there and out of a necessity, she could just fall into, 3 threes for us tonight.
Yeah, and then oh man, you're kind of the Dulcin whisper. I never get her right, and she's been a thorn in my side all season. Um, Although down the paint, terrible matchup for her. But we've seen her get a lot of her points from the perimeter and 3-point shooting. If everyone's chucking threes and the ball's rotating from New York, maybe it's a little more 3-point attempts in the up pace matchup, and her point prop's only 7.5. Would you consider her 7.5 points, hoping that she can hit a couple threes, or do you like her 5 rebounds? Because her size is going to be needed in this matchup.
Probably the 5 rebounds. And like you said, the size, I think, is going to really come into a huge play here for us, because they like to run this offense for New York where basically either Dolson or Howard is standing as the kind of lone center and the other one is pulling out to the arc to shoot the three ball. So we've seen that Dolson has been really, really, really passive in the first half
Mm-hmm.
and kind of switches it up leading
Yeah.
into the second half. So I still have a little bit of pause on the points. I think the points, if she is doing her thing, is the easier route, but not necessarily an easy matchup tonight because Hamby and Asia are going to be all up in her face all night. And even switching off as their third option, she's still going to see Gray or Plesac. And none of those are going to be fairly easy defenders to go up against. And just with her being I wouldn't say that slow, but she's a fairly slow, and this pace up for her is going to be a lot to keep up with. So I would worry about, is she actually going to have that strength and stamina once we're 10 minutes into the game running up and down the court, is she going to be fine to stand up and throw that three, or is she just going to run underneath the basket and try and grab a rebound? I'm thinking the latter today, honestly, with just the rebounds. And for her being at 5, it's probably just a safe margin for us.
Yeah, if anything, it has a definitely potential to push. But she's got to deal with the glass monster in Asia, and then other solid rebounders like Hamby. But yeah, I mean, she's going to be needed down there for that reason. Okay. Was there any other New York that you liked, or you want to move on to Vegas?
I think you could even consider some unders on Hanzu today. I think this is going to be way too much for her, and she'll probably get fouled off the floor. She's really struggled with these veteran and skill-intensive centers that know their footwork. She's picked up a lot of early fouls against them.
That is true. Were you thinking her PRA? Just avoid some random blocks that she could get?
Yeah, probably the PRA, because she's not going to get many rebounds at all tonight, so it'll be just almost off of raw points. And she's not a player that will get extra run and blowout. Coach will sit her.
Cool. I like that list. Pretty solid list. I've had this gut feeling since last night that Natasha's gonna get it done. Might have to take her off the DNP list.
I had her right at 15.5 points. So the points is I think where she's gonna get it done at. She just needs to hit that 3 ball.
Yeah. Definitely gonna have to. Threes are gonna have to be falling for her for sure. Maybe if she continues to be more aggressive, attacking the basket and picking up free throws, which she's been doing lately. I know New York is like bottom of the league at drawing fouls. They're just not aggressive attacking the rim. But lately she's been pretty aggressive in drawing fouls. You see she's had 4, 4, 4, and 3 free throws made over the last 4 games. So hopefully she continues that because she'll need those free throws too to throw into that point total. Okay, and then on to Vegas, which is probably some of my favorite targets here today. For all the reasons that I stated earlier, just being the best team in the league right now, and that's why they're heavy favorites to win it all. I made Jackie Young the cover girl because I just feel like being at home, she's going to show out today, and I like a lot of her props. But I think the one that stood out to me was her 1.5 block plus steal with how much New York turns it over, like we discussed. It's very, very low line for her. I feel like she's averaging on the season 1.8, but as of lately, she's been picking it up in the stock realm. And yeah, I just think there's going to be a lot of turnovers to go around. And she definitely has the lowest line for the block steal. You see Chelsea's at 2 and Asia's at 3. I really like that, but I also like her rebound. Just due to looking at how she plays in past previous games this season, she tends to clear this 3.5 rebound when she goes against teams that take a lot of threes, like Seattle and Phoenix. So she's going against a team that takes the most threes in New York. So the rebounds could be there for her, those long rebounds that she tends to get. So I'm on the fence. I can't decide between those two for her. And then probably my absolute favorite player in Plum. I really wanted her 19.5 points, but it's right there. And I just worry about the blowout and not getting the full run. She is fighting with Brianna Stewart right now for points per game leader. Brianna, I think last I saw, was at 20.9, and Plum is right there at 20. So she's almost a full point behind Brianna Stewart as the point scoring leader this season. But the 3 turnovers stood out to me. I think that's really high for how much New York does not turn the ball over, create turnovers. I think they're bottom in the league and forcing turnovers. And it's in Vegas, playing at home. I just think that's 3 turnovers a little high. I think you can go under on that. And, if it gets a 3, it'll just push. I think it has a high chance of pushing. I mean, she's averaging 2.9, but she tends to take care of the ball really well against teams that don't cause turnovers, and especially when she plays at home. So I would say that was probably one of my favorite of hers, and then second would be her points. And then I'll let you talk about Asia because I know you really like her free throws, and then her rebounds are always in play.
Oh, for sure. And I love that point on Plum that you're talking about. We see her be a real streaky assist category player, but with Gray coming back and really stepping back into that facilitating role,
Mhm.
Plum's actually been able to just to focus back on the offensive scoring here. And honestly, that could be a reason why she is just behind Stewart there because of Gray being out. Now she's having to facilitate the ball, taking less shots in that couple weeks that she was out there. But I love that, and especially for this being a pace down matchup for Plum on the opposing side here. Um, I think that
Right.
under for 3 turnovers is looking pretty good today because 4 is a really high bar, and I don't think her prop has either ever or been at this in quite some time.
Yeah, it's usually like Natasha Cloud at 2.5, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
So
they're
there,
both very similar in terms of like their turnover rate. I feel like.
for sure, for sure. And for her, it just kind of depends on if she's going to be dishing it out and dropping dimes or if she actually going to be taking the shots and driving the lane. So we could get a different performance here, but I feel pretty confident. And especially with them being at home, they looked a little rough on the road and they're going to get a big welcome home today from the home crowd. So they're going to show out. And she's one of those players too that loves to really show off in later
Mhm.
games. So right there with you on that call, and love Jackie Young's 1.5 stocks today. I think that's perfect for us. We've been looking for this in pretty much every matchup against these high turnover teams, and anything under 2 is going to be, I wouldn't say a slam dunk, but really good odds for a hit. And then Asia, just to kind of wrap it up for us, we've been on her free throw train for quite some time now. And the last 2 matchups, I think that this is just where we're seeing experience come into play. Because if you take a look at her past 5 here, the last 2 were against fouls, a really experienced veteran defender, and then had really good matchups in these pace up spot or in these get right spots. And then back beyond that, she squared off against Donnie and company in Washington. So those are kind of matchups that we do expect this to happen. But New York is not even close to the same ballpark as those teams. So this is going to be a way more difficult time for them. And especially Asia at home, she's just an absolute beast. She loves driving to the lane. I would say we'll probably see at least 3 offensive rebounds tonight. So any of those falling in line for a chance to go to the line.
I agree. Totally agree. Yeah, especially with the offensive rebound potential, and when Shaq Su's in there too.
Yeah.
So I do like that a lot. I think those could be 3 core plays, and they don't. All three of these props from the same team don't affect each other. They're independent. So I like those. Um,
Yeah. And honestly, with what even kind of little we have for Vegas right now, the plethora that we have to pick from, you can mix and match a lot of those and they don't overlap.
yeah, yeah. While the list is short, the confidence level is high. As you can see with teams like New York and Atlanta, we have very much larger and longer lists, and that's probably a lot of that's due to less confidence and trying to dig out props. So with that, we can catch up with chat and build our team cards. Unless there's any other Vegas prop you wanted to point out that you really liked that we didn't go over.
Yeah, I think you could take a shot on Chelsea Gray, her fantasy score. I would have loved her blocks and steals at 1.5, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough upside for her to catch a few stocks here. And we saw her have a fairly spike shooting game against Minnesota. That could happen on any given night, but with the stock upside there, I think you could probably still go back there. And Hamby, her rebounding under 8, I think could be an option. But Vegas lines are pretty juiced. So as much as I love this matchup, we're being real choosy about our props because of the confidence level, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on Chelsea. I always like her fantasy upside, and her fantasy has gone down. Her prop has gone down. I mean, it's been up at 31 as of
Hmm.
late, and then now it's down to 28. And I assume they're just adjusting that based on the recent performance and just due to the spread being so high. So if you're worried about the blowout and you're worried about the spread, I think you can still maybe cut it in half at the first half. You're getting taxed by, I believe, 0.5. Is it 28 and a half? Is their full game?
For Chelsea, yeah, 28 even.
Oh, so you're getting taxed by a full one
Yeah.
for the first half. But I mean, yeah, she could definitely pick up a couple stocks in the first half and fill the stat line. But yeah, I'm with you on that. So I would say her full gamer or first half if you worry about blowout. And then I guess the last talking point would be Hamby. She's another frustrating player. Can be very inconsistent on the times, especially with her effort.
Yeah, I think the effort honestly is a huge thing, and she was so disappointing after her contract night. Like I couldn't believe just how, you know, uncommitted she seemed to be out there. And we had a stellar bounce back game, the one after that, but you're gonna get one of these nights where, and it's not even. I think that they honestly don't even need her. She's just out there to fill a space and to be a body in the area. And a lot of, I would say, 6 to 8 out of 10 of the plays are on the opposing side, where she already has a buffer between her and Asia plus another player. So she's just not even doing anything.
You cut out there for a second. You still there?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, it was glitching out for a second. Yeah, yeah. You can see with the rebounding too. It's just like the effort's not there anymore since that contract signing. Rebounding is way down. I mean, yeah, she's just not getting it done. And then she'll have some scoring nights, but never feels comfortable clicking on her for prop betting. So I probably would just stay away. Since we like real solid three core players and targets to go with for Vegas. Okay. Was there any team starters for Vegas that we liked? I guess maybe the free throws, but it's risky. They don't take many threes. Yeah.
Not early, no.
Yeah. Okay. We can catch up with chat and then build our team card. So let's see. What's up, Cowboy? You said late to classes. What's good, people? Late's better than never, man. Glad you're here. He said good spot for Hamby, bounce back and blow up. If you got that good feeling about her, man, I never do. But yeah, go to gut on that one. He said Asia's going to post Chamberlain stats. She always has a potential, man. Vince said I'm going Howard turnovers. She, don't blame me, turns it over at a very high rate. Toa said I'm going to make an all turnover card. It makes sense with the type of teams in this slate and matchups, especially that first game. Two really good defenses. Harry said Sabrina's first half PRAs. If you're worried about blowout, I can get it. But she'll play like the entire second half too. That she would probably want access to. And sometimes I notice in the third quarter she really steps it up. Cowboy said fire up Natasha tonight. Amen. I had a good feeling about her last night too. So maybe this the Natasha night. Y'all got a favorite 2-pick power play? Well, we'll build our team card, but our team card's gonna be like a 4 or 5 play. For me, it would be the 3 turnovers under on Plum, and then whatever Eric favorite prop is, pair that as a 2-pick power. Dave, what's your all favorite on the entire slate, Eric?
Ugh, put me on the spot like that. Man, that's tough to say, honestly. I think it's got to be one of these turnover props, either Parker 1.5 or uh, either Parker or Cloud. It's got to be one of those two.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
So
the consistency has been
Jason,
there.
or who asked that? Mike. You take 2 of those 3 that we listed there. Great PRA. Yeah, I think that her PRA can be in play, and then as Eric mentioned, her fantasy too, just because of the stock potential in this matchup with New York turning it over at such a high rate. Jason said, "Do you like Howard or Johannes' turnovers more?" I like Marines turnovers at 2.5 just because less likely to push. But Natasha definitely has propensity to turn it over. But I'm on the fence. I mean, Eric definitely liked the 2.5 turnovers too for Marine, and that was my initial lean earlier this morning. So I'll probably stick with the Marines 2.5 turnovers. Underrated said Plum under 3 turnovers fire. Hope so. Hamby under rebounds, Franklin asked. I mean, the trend is suggesting it in her effort, like we said, but you never know. She could get more run and blowout potential here. Asia could sit more, and she could just fall into some long rebounds from New York missing. So it makes me nervous. I would probably just fade it. Jack said, been burned by starts, field goal made due to early subs rotation. I know you have talked about it briefly, but y'all feel good about Atlanta starters prop. I did not look into that. One of our crew members liked it. Eric, I don't know if you have any more details on it. I did not research that at all.
It has a fairly reasonable hit rate. Just with it being 2.5, it's so low. But most of that, honestly, is just going to be one, what's the starting lineup looking like again for Atlanta? And then are they going to scheme to keep it? It really just depends on who they're going to come with open looks for. It's just such a low prop line. I mean, 2.5 is crazy low. We've seen it adjusted every time it's been at 2.5. So I would give it the benefit of the doubt of hitting again.
Yeah, especially since they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Jay asks how you feel about Asia over fantasy. I always like Asia for her fantasy because of all her rebounding, scoring, and stock upside. I mean, she averages like over 3 stocks per game. It's insane.
Yeah, they pushed her fantasy back down a little bit. It's
Yeah.
under 40.
Yeah, it's been sitting at 40. And yeah, she's averaging 3.2 stocks per game. And one thing I would note, though, is I noticed that she really turns it on the second half a lot of times. And my only concern is that if you don't get that second half, like, monster performance like she typically does, because of it's a blowout and she loses minutes in the second half, that would be my only concern. But other than that, I always like her fantasy upside. MLB Goat said, I'm thinking about playing Jackie stocks, Asia free throws, and Plum's turnovers in one card tonight. I like that. It's a solid 3. I like that a lot. OB said, I have Cloud turnover one card and Parker turnover in a different card. All right, well, we better get on that Plum turnover before PrizePicks bumps it to 2.5 or nerfs it to 2.5.
Yeah, we could see the Parker one change. Like, that is a very real thing.
Yep. Will Billings get enough run to grab 6 boards? I think so. I mean, it's not a great rebounding spot for her, but with this low implied total, should be a lot of bricks to go around. I mean, it's right there. I mean, that's her specialty is rebounding. So I know we didn't talk about that. Did you have any lean on that, Eric?
For Asia?
Billings.
It's getting on up there. What did he say for 6? a lot of it's really going to depend on if Coffee's in tonight. If
Yeah,
she's
that's true.
out still, I would say yeah, you could probably still go back there. But if she's back in, definitely not.
Yep. Okay. That covers the questions so far. And throw out any more questions as we build our team cards and we'll address them. And then we'll wrap up with some couple of NBA Summer League plays that we like. Okay, I'll start first and I'll just go right to what I already liked, Plum's under 3 turnovers. And then you can go ahead.
Let's go with Parker's 1.5 turnovers.
I like it. And then I'll probably do, man, I'm on the fence. I guess we'll build 2 more cards, but I'm on the fence between Jackie's 1.5 block steal or 3.5 rebound. I'll do 1.5 block steal for this one.
I like it. I like it. Let's see. I think we got to go with. So are we going to build this card to kind of? It seems like it's hedging for blowouts right now. These are reasonably low prop lines.
Yeah.
All right, let me look at my bag of tricks here. I think we could go back with some first half props here. Let's go with. I want Atkins, I think PRA, her first half, 10.5 on the over.
I like it. And then I'll take a screenshot of this if people just want to do a 4-pick play, 4-power play. But if you want to add a fifth, let's add. We can do Cloud's turnovers or Asia's free throws for this one.
Let's go with Asia. Spread it out a little bit. We won't have 3 Washington.
Okay, it's number 1. And then we'll build another one with less of these low line prop blowout potential props. You go first since I went first last time.
All right, so this will be assuming that we get full run here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Or mix and match. I mean, one game blows out, the other one doesn't, or
yeah. Well, I guess in my thought process, I will assume that this is going to be a prop for a full game. So let's go with. And you put Asia on the last card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She was the 5th play, so if you want her in the 4.
Let's go with Dawn's 2.5 free throws made. I think that's a gem for us today.
Okay. I'm going to go with Breaker off the taker out of the prison, DNP prison.
I was going to go there if you didn't want to.
Natasha's points. Yeah.
All right. So let's go with, on the next one, Young's 1.5 stocks.
For who?
For Jackie.
Okay. And I'll go Natasha turnovers.
I like it.
And then one more. So let's do 5 flex.
What about Wheeler assist?
Okay. There we go. I will update our top 10 ranking list and share it with the free Discord too channel. So if you're not part of it, come join us. We're always working together and sharing screenshots and ideas, research, and always positive vibes. So the link is in the YouTube below.
Yeah.
Okay, Summer League time.
Do you want to hit that last question real fast? Jason was asking about Asia.
Oh yeah, you can go ahead while I get the Summer League stuff going.
Yeah, so Jason, pretty high on Asia today because of New York. They're one of the league leaders in fouls, and with all that being a huge pace-up spot for New York having to deal with, they're going to have a lot of trouble containing Asia on the inside. And both Howard, Dolson, and Hahn are pretty heavy foul players. So I'm expecting her to get about 6 to 8 free throws tonight.
Okay. JS, what do y'all think of Hamby and Jackie under fantasy? And I just think it's risky with the stock potential in this matchup. So I probably lean no. Okay, Summer League. So the first game starts an hour before WNBA starts, and that's Memphis and OKC. Both teams are on a back-to-back. So we need confirmation on starting lineups. Summer League can be a little bit weird where some players can just sit randomly. The coach decides to not play them. Definitely confirm the lineup before entering any of these props. But if everything goes accordingly, we saw Chet just have a monster game yesterday. But you got to take it with a grain of salt. He shot crazy from three, and Utah Summer League team just does not look good. But a lot of that's also due to how solid this OKC team is. It's pretty much the same unit that closed out the season when they were tanking, when SGA and Dort were on the bench. So they played together, a lot of minutes together, and a lot of NBA regular season experience under the belt. You can see in the starting lineup last night, they only had one rookie. All the other guys have played at least 1 year, and all these guys have played together. Wiggins, Kitty, Jerry, Poku. So yeah, they should be a solid Summer League unit. The only thing is I don't know if they're going to rest anyone like Giddy or even Chet on a back-to-back because they're these guys are key pieces to the team, these two, for the start of the regular season. So we need confirmation on that. But I still think you can get behind Chet's points, especially how many threes he took and how the offense basically centers around him. So 17.5 points I think you can consider. But my favorite on OKC is going to be Poku. He shot terrible. His shot looked bad too. But he shot really bad. But he took the most shots on the starting unit. He took 10 field goal attempts. He was 3 of 10. And he still finished with 11 points. And he finished with 17 PRA. He's the kind of guy, if you've ever played him in regular season DFS or prop betting, he's the kind of guy that gets it done with everything, fills the stat line, rebounds, assists. So I would probably lean his PRA at 16.5. Probably one of my favorite for Summer League props. I think he's really playing for a job here. If he continues to play this bad, I don't think he'll make the roster after this season and will be let go eventually, just due to the depth of OKC. And then on the other side with Memphis, we saw how good OKC was defensively with those guys in the paint for OKC, and Chet had like 6 blocks. It was crazy. And I think, being on a back-to-back, if Memphis rolls out the same lineup, I think we can consider some unders here. Zaire had a fake assist game. He had like 8 assists that put him over this 24.5 PRA. He finished with 26. I think you can go under on this 24.5 PRA. Maybe gets a little less minutes on the back-to-back if he does play. and I don't see him getting 8 assists again. And then, yeah, Tillman, they dropped his points. It opened at 15.5. I liked the under on that, but now they wised up and they put it to 14.5. So I'll probably stay away from Tillman. And they dropped Jake's PRA from 18.5 to 17.5. Can still consider under on that, but I would probably just say Zaires 24.5 under. And then on Philly's side, they have a great matchup against Utah, and they're another seasoned team. You can see all these guys have played in the league. They're not running a rookie out there in their starting lineup. All these guys have played at least 2 years, or at least 1 year. Some of them playing 2 years now. And yeah, Paul Reed should have an easy time in this matchup, but his props are super juiced. They have his PRA at 31.5. But yeah, I liked Springer when they had him at 12.5 points, but they bumped it to 13.5. So that's right there on the fence for me. He did take a lot of shots in last night's game when they played Memphis, but I think you could consider it as a fringe play. And then Bassey should have an easy time against Utah's front court. We saw OKC just eat in the paint. It's just, can he get enough shots up? He only took 5 shots last night. But yeah, it's a low line for him there. Favorable matchup. And just hopefully he can get 18 to 20 minutes in that matchup. And then Utah, man, they look bad. But again, a lot of it could be due to OKC, that unit just being pretty solid for a summer league team. Butler shot really bad. I think this could be a bounce back spot for him. They opened him at 11.5, and unfortunately they bumped him to 12.5 points. I still think you can go there. He shot really bad from 3 and even the free throw line. But he started turning it on late. I think he could bounce back here. So he's probably my second favorite behind Poku's PRA. And then Cockburn, he's another one that, doesn't take many shots, but yeah, I think he could eat here. Tillman went off against this Philly front court. So if you want a low line, I get it, but it's more fringe. So I'll finish with my current rankings right now. I got Poku 16.5. Feel really good about it depending on the starting lineup. And then I need to adjust this. I liked Butler when it was 11.5, but I still think you can consider it. I think Dick Law needs to stop shooting. Last night he took 12 shots. I think he was 1 of 2 or 1 of 12. So I think he should chill out. Butler should pick up some more shots and hopefully he shoots a lot better tonight. We've seen him have ceiling games in the regular season when he gets to start. So definitely like his bounce back here. And then I update this 24.5 PRA. Then third I would like Zaires 24.5 PRA under. So these three, if you want to mix in any of these with WNBA, definitely like that. Again, watch out for starting lineups. They can drop right before lock, so definitely want to make sure that these guys are actually playing and starting before going with any other props. Did you have anything on Summer League, Eric, you want to finish with? Or
Hey, that's all you, man. I just saw your work that you were doing yesterday and was hoping we were going to get a chance to talk about it today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that both these games have all 4 teams are on a back-to-back, so there's a lot of unknown. I can't imagine all 4 teams rolling out the same lineup again, being on back-to-backs. There's going to be some movement and change, so it's a matter of adjusting to that and keeping an eye out.
Yeah, it's something I would like to take a little bit more time for, but with more recently really diving into disc golf for the community, it's I'm getting a little strapped for time.
I feel you. It can't do it all. Oh yeah, they keep dropping Tillman. Now he's down to 21.5 PRA. People are definitely clicking under on that. Yeah, definitely keep out news. I will drop this rank list once I get confirmation on starting lineups, at least for the OKC Memphis game. That's one starts first. And the second game starts around the same time, an hour before the late night hammer of WNBA, the Utah Philly game. So keep an eye out for that starting lineup too. And we'll adjust the list accordingly. accordingly. Anything else Chad had? Don't see anything else. All right, cool. Tomorrow, what is tomorrow looking like?
I believe we have a 3-game. It's I want to say it's another weird day. Yeah, we have the random 7 Eastern and then the 3-hour gap after. So we get a long island game.
Yeah. But I think this New York, I forgot New York is on a back-to-back. I forgot to mention that. This New York Phoenix game should be fun.
Yeah, that's a good call on the back-to-back. I didn't even realize that when I was looking at that earlier.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I heard that this morning, and yeah. But that should be a fun matchup. 2 3-point heavy teams, and now we got the Skylar news that they considered trading her and taking offers. So remains to be seen on that.
The third game looks good.
The what?
I was saying that last game, the third game looks good for the Sparks in Seattle.
Yeah. If Sparks can just show some semblance of consistency in their offense. And then NBA Summer League, we should have more than 2 games for Thursday. Oh yeah, so tomorrow looks really good because most of these games start right around the same time as the WNBA, so we can combine cards. And we get some teams that haven't played yet, so the lines are going to be total dart throws, and we just can go on our intuition there. All right, cool, guys. We will probably be back same time tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll go over WNBA and then finish with some NBA plays. We should have way more plays for NBA tomorrow. We only had 2 games today, so.
Sweet. Sounds
all right,
good.
Eric, I will be in Discord. I'll try to join the live chat in about 30 minutes too, and the voice chat.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm going to go walk the pups before the rain hits here, and I'll be around.
Sounds good. All right, good luck, everyone. Catch you tomorrow.
Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the brass pig. Let's fucking go. You watching Contact. You can thank the master. About to go big. Kill him with the brass pig. About to go big. Kill him with the brass pig. 24/7 researching, it's all a fantasy. But if I make the right plays, it pays automatically. Bankroll showing that I know it dope strategy. On a winning streak, I'm stacking a dose of the bookies, all get mad at me. Confident with how it plays, not clicking on a flex today. 10 times the money, and we all about to get paid. Eric and Josh on the stream, they be killing it. Never gonna stop it, I like if you feeling it. Picking the players, they all know what time you can't make up your mind and just go with your gut. Fantasize and Sasha Clown. Gabby Williams said, watch your mouth. They 1 and they 2, I play the over, they come through. Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum, pick them both, we stacking them. Going big to the maximum, just push them in, we cashing them. Let's fucking go. We about to go big. Kill him with the brass pig. Let's fucking go. You watching Contact. You can thank the master. About to go big. Kill him with the brass pig. About to go big. Kill him with the brass pigs. We about to go big.
This is the game.
You watching Contact.
Let's get hunting.
You can